from time to time. So what is the purpose? It's really twofold. The first is for accountability. It's to make sure that we're measuring up to whatever the standards or expectations are for that forum or that arena. For example, in academia, you'll get feedback from your professors to make sure that you are achieving whatever the objectives are on different assignments. And if it's at work, you're getting feedback probably from your managers or your coworkers and making sure that you are meeting the standards or expectations for your role as a nurse. Once you receive that feedback though, what should it do? It should move you towards a state of autonomy, meaning now that you know what those standards or those expectations are and what you need to do to improve to reach them, you should be able to make application and moving it forward to show growth and learning. So at school, taking the feedback from your professors will translate into you modifying your future assignments to show that growth. At work, it's taking that feedback and applying it to your nursing practice so that your accountability is demonstrated from the feedback that you were providing. The benefits of supportive peer-to-peer feedback really does go both ways. Not only are you going to get a benefit from receiving feedback from your peers, but you're also going to benefit from giving feedback to your peers. And this is why. The purpose is to show continuous quality improvement in performance. So you're receiving that constructive suggestions of how to improve from your peers, and that is going to offer you way more perspectives than if you're just getting it from your professor alone. You're going to get a lot more suggestions, a lot more recommendations, but you're also going to get a lot more of a different viewpoint on what they saw from the work that you did, the strengths and the weaknesses. So it's going to give you a lot more to draw from in helping you to improve. But as the reviewer, you are now going to have a metacognitive effect. So that means that as you are setting the standard for how you are providing feedback to your peers, you are going to also hold yourself to that same standard. So when you are giving suggestions for them to improve, you will be applying your own suggestions to your own work and helping yourself improve in the same vein. So it is a circle of improvement that goes around from peer to yourself and back. What high quality peer feedback is not, it is not meant to be a punitive measure or a criticism of practice. So it is not meant to come across as critical or blaming or finger pointing or negative in that aspect. It's meant to be focused, descriptive, constructive, blended, and achievable. And when you have all 5 of these facets shown, it really is high quality, and it's actually going to be seen less as a personal attack on something, but more of a very supportive encouragement to improve. So if it's focused, it's going to focus on a specific behavior or knowledge deficit, not on the person. So it's not going to be, you should have done this, you didn't do that, it's not going to be directed about where the deficit was for the person, but where the deficit was on whatever's being reviewed. So if it's an assignment, like in many of your courses, when you're giving peer feedback, it's in an assignment, the deficits that you notice in what they submitted to the standards that were set for that assignment and showing them where those gaps are. So you're focusing only on the work itself and not on the person who submitted it. It should be descriptive, and you should be using your senses to describe what your observations are. So I heard you when you listen to a narrated or an in-person performance or presentation. I saw that you used this or that you did that. I saw you use gestures which made it seem more natural. Whatever it is that your observations are, describe them using the senses that you had used to observe. If it's constructive, you'll be using positive language. Even if the feedback may be focused on a negative, if you use a positive language, it's going to motivate them and inspire them to grow and to apply that feedback, because it's not going to come across as critical. It's going to come across as being something they can build off of. You're not trying to tear them down, you're trying to build them up. It should be blended. So even though you are going to be pointing out strengths and weaknesses, they should be equally blended, using positive reinforcement. You did a great job here, and then the areas that need to be improved. You did a really nice job with your background or with the way you described this or that. I would just suggest maybe building a little bit more in this area. Or I liked the color scheme that you used for your background and presentation, but the font was a little too light against that darker or that lighter color, and it's hard to read. You just balance it out, pointing out the good and balancing it with what needs to improve. And it should be achievable. Whatever recommendations that you make or suggestions that you make for improvement needs to be something that is realistic and able to be implemented. You need to know whether or not your peer is ready to develop in that area the way that everybody's at their own level of understanding and ability to perform. And you might have a higher vision when it comes to different assignments. You might, take it a little beyond what just the standards, the basic standards, to develop something that is high quality in your eyes. But if your peer doesn't have that same advances, maybe it's a technological advance. You are really very proficient at using different applications and different programs to help you with your work. But if your peer struggles with using technology, then some of your suggestions may or may not be very helpful to somebody who already has that kind of a deficiency in their experience or their knowledge base. So make sure they're realistic, make sure they're easy to implement. Also make sure that they're within the guidelines on whatever standards was set for that assignment. So that is how you can provide supportive feedback and how you can grow yourself in this process.